Hello, hello, hello! My name is Dylan, and today I'm going to be analyzing an essay that got me into Stanford, UCLA, and UC San Diego. This is a supplemental essay for Stanford and one of the UC PIQs that I submitted. I'm super excited to share this essay with you guys today because this one was my intellectual vitality essay for Stanford, and then for the UCs it was the prompt where they ask about creativity and how you showcase your creative side. So with these kind of analyzing essay videos, what I'm trying to do is show you guys all the strategies that I talk about in my other essay writing videos and how they actually work in practice, how they are demonstrated in an actual example essay. So for this essay, you'll get to see what I mean by show, don't tell. You'll get to see what I mean about the structure, about creating a problem or a conflict or a challenge for my essay when there really was no problem in the actual instance of, this experience that I'm going to talk about. Because it's kind of all about framing, the way that you frame the story or experience. Also in this essay, you will understand what I mean when I say get very, very specific. Also, this essay that I'm going to be analyzing today is the version of it that I submitted to Stanford and not the UCs, except it is literally the same essay for the UCs, except for the UCs it is a little bit longer. So I just cut down some very minor parts to get it to fit into the 250 word limit for Stanford, and that is the one that I'm going to be analyzing for you guys today. The way that this is going to work is I'm going to read one paragraph at a time and then analyze it one paragraph at a time. So I'm going to read the first paragraph, then I'm going to analyze the first paragraph, and then I'm going to, move on to the next paragraph and go like that. So without further ado, let's jump into my OneNote application and analyze this essay. Bum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. I've now moved to a different position so you can see my face while we're doing this analyzation thingy. So before we get started, I just want to say that this essay fully belongs to me, Dylan Nellis. I wrote this essay, it is my own, so please do not copy any of the work that you see here, copy any of the exact sentence structure or words that I use, because that would be plagiarism. Okay, let's get into this. What was the prompt? So for Stanford, the prompt was, the Stanford community is deeply curious and driven to learn in and out of the classroom. Reflect on an idea or experience that makes you genuinely excited about learning. This is known as the intellectual vitality essay for Stanford, and then for the UC prompt, it was the one about how you showcase your creative side. So let's jump into the first paragraph. Ding! I just received an email in response to the first draft of my 2018 yearbook cover design. We like the background, but the Illustrated Academy symbols are lacking originality. How could I create a clever, retro-themed cover that integrated the visual, theater, music, and dance academies of my school? Okay, so that sets up the story clearly. It just clearly, right off the bat, gives the situation and the problem. So what I underlined in turquoise is the context. So this is the setup. This is context, context, context. Clearly, I was being a designer. I was designing the yearbook cover for my school. And then I provided more context of the restrictions and the guidelines for the design that I was creating, including it had to be retro themed and it had to integrate visual arts, theater, music, and dance because I went to an art school. So that also shows that, hey, I go to an art school. Okay, now what is underlined in purple? This is all about sentence structure and the way that I wrote stuff, so writing techniques. So first I started off with ding, that is a sound. I like using onomatopoeia. I actually did that in my Common App essay. You can watch the Analyzing My Common App essay video as well, because I also started with another sound effect. And then the second thing that I underlined in purple here is the quote. So we like the background, but the Illustrated Academy symbols are lacking originality. That was the email response that I got from the yearbook teacher. Oh, I also do want to say that with this email response, it wasn't the exact words that she sent me. In the original actual email of what went down in real life was not this exact short sentence. I did phrase it in a way that got the entire point across in a very short amount of words. So that is okay to do as well. You don't have to take a direct quote. You can meld it a little bit to fit what you are trying to say. So with this, I'm really setting up the problem here. Like I said a little bit earlier, what I meant by setting up a problem when there really was no problem. Okay, there was no problem, right? I was just making a yearbook cover and she wanted me to revise my first draft. Like, that's not really a huge problem. That's not a life crisis. But I framed it in a way that posed it as a problem, where I was like, oh gosh, my design is not working. Something needs to be done. So that's more of a way where you can frame an experience as a problem. So it's like the thing that sets up the reason why you take action. And the last thing I wanted to talk about sentence structure for this was the questions. So the last sentence of this very short paragraph is a question. So I like to vary my sentence structure when writing essays and include my thoughts. So this is definitely showing the reader my thoughts, what was going on in my own brain. And that was the question that I asked here. All right, now we're going to be moving on to the second paragraph, which is really tiny. After a week of researching countless works, I discovered that styles from the 1900s to 1920s resonated the strongest for this project. Finally, I was ready to transcend my own limitations. This is the turning point in the essay. This is where I say, okay, I'm going to take action, and which was the research, that was part of the action. And then, okay, this is what I realized from this. So thoughts, realization. And then the thoughts and the realization always is the turning point, which leads you to take the main action. Also, by me saying research and saying styles from the 1900s to 1920s, that just shows that I have done my research, so I know what I am talking about. Especially for Stanford's application, you want to show that you have actually put in the work and the research that it takes to understand certain concepts. And it is also a way for me to be super specific in what I'm talking about. Now for the third paragraph. Referencing the artistic movement of Distill, I restricted my color palette to shades of red, teal, and primrose yellow. I incorporated contemporary trends and Russian constructivism to transform the numbers 2018 into bold geometric shapes. These were then layered and intermixed with figures, instruments, and artistic tools, all influenced by the jazz art of the Harlem Renaissance. What was a 0 had become the lens of a camera, and what was an 8 had become a cello being strummed. This paragraph is all about action. These are the concrete steps I am taking to create my design. Once again, underlined in red, it shows that I've done my research. I'm using terms like the Russian constructivism and the jazz art of the Harlem Renaissance. Like, these are historical things that I had to go online to find and learn about and gain inspiration from. Also, what I underlined in yellow, so basically the way it goes is what's underlined in red influenced what's underlined in yellow. So the artistic movement of Distill influenced the color palette. The contemporary trends and the Russian constructivism influenced the bold geometric shapes. And then the jazz art of the Harlem Renaissance influenced the figures, instruments, and artistic tools that I included in my artwork. So it's very like this influenced that kind of thing. And additionally, what I'm doing here is really showing the piece that I'm creating. Obviously, they can't see the design that I made from this essay. By the way, if you want to see the design, here it is on the screen. So this is like what I'm talking about. But I did say that the 0 had become the lens of the camera, as you see here, and the 8 had become a cello being strummed. So I wanted to paint that picture in the reader's mind. All right, so now let's jump into the fourth paragraph. In many ways, I saw my artwork as a geometry puzzle. Each shape was created in Photoshop with Bezier curves, whose control points I manipulated to stretch along tangential lines. The background flowed with cubistic angles and converging colors that wrapped around the cover. After numerous revisions, both sides of my artistic equation eventually found balance. Okay, this whole paragraph was also a continuation of the actions that I was taking, but it really ties in the left brain kind of perspective and the analytical and logical thinking, and also ties into math. So what I really wanted to do here was not only talk about design and art and stuff like that, but also tie in my love for STEM as well. That's why I talked about the geometry puzzle and like tangential lines, like it's a tangent, the way that the Photoshop curves work when you are working in Photoshop with the pen tool. You are basically manipulating a tangent line against a curve. And then also at the very end, both sides of my artistic equation eventually found balance. That is kind of a math/chemistry term to, balance an equation. So I wanted to connect that with art. And now for the last paragraph. Research and experimentation allowed me to discover unique ways to combine design concepts, math principles, and my school culture. While the cover was a success, the true reward was in the process. Alright, so what's underlined in red is kind of the way it's been throughout this whole essay, is everything is underlined in red is about the research that I've done and the process that went into creating this design cover. And then what I underlined in turquoise is the main concept. So I wanted to really hit home, drive home what I was trying to get across with this essay. That through this whole experience, through the design process, I was able to combine design concepts and artistic influences with math principles, as I just talked about in the previous paragraph, and my school culture. You know, the arts academies that I mentioned earlier and how it had to be retro themed, that all ties into the school culture. And another thing I want to note with this is that when I say while the cover was a success at the very end of the essay, the part about it being a success, I didn't want to include in there that I got an award from this. So this yearbook cover did end up winning first place for the Friesen's National Design Cover Contest, but I did not want to seem like I was bragging for the Stanford application, and I also just needed to take down my word count. So I did take that out of here, but in my UC PIQs, I left that in there. I did specifically state that I won an award from this, because with the UC PIQs, they want you to elaborate more on your extracurriculars and the awards that you got and stuff like that. Whereas I feel like in the more private school essays, they don't as much want you to be like, hey, look at all the awards that I got. I'm sure if I did include it in here, it wouldn't have mattered anyways, and it would be fine if I did put it in there, but it was just a personal choice for me not to include it in Stanford's essay. Okay, great. So now just really quickly, I want to go over the whole structure. I've kind of been saying this as we've moved along, but I just want to talk about what the whole structure of this essay was. So first paragraph was really setting the stage. It was the problem. This is the situation that is going on, and also these are my thoughts. So there weren't too many thoughts. It was really just the last sentence in the first paragraph where I'm like, how can I do this? So clearly this is what was going on in my mind, and I realized, which is the second paragraph, is the turning point, the realization where I was like, okay, after doing this research, now I have something that I can create. Now I have something that inspires me that I can go off of to create my own design. And the third and fourth paragraphs are really the actions that I took, what I did to solve this problem, to create this design. And then in the last paragraph is the outcome and the significance, like what happened after I was able to complete this design, what I learned from it, and the significance. So that was one of the essays that I submitted to the Stanford Supplements and to the UC PIQs. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe to my channel since I come out with college app videos all the time. I do have an essay writing workbook / ebook / online course that you can take and learn from and learn how to write your essays and how to really structure your essays. I'm currently in the developing stages, but once it is released, it will also be included in the description, so be on the lookout for that. That's all for today. Make sure to check out those other videos, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys later. Bye.